Coming up in this episode of the Awake and Aware podcast.
One of the facilitators will step into the ring and say, have you ever felt shame or feel shame about X, Y, Z? If that resonates with you, step forward. Like, yes, sweet. And he goes, this will be done naked. Welcome back to the Awake and Aware podcast. Today we bring it back for number 10, which is something I'm really stoked to be able to say. It's been an absolute wild ride, the past 10 episodes. It's pretty wild to see how far I've come and how far the podcast has come since starting at end of last year. And I think noticing the impact that it's having and seeing people come out and, you know, when they've seen an episode or whatnot and they reach out to me saying how much it's helped them and how much of an impact it's having, it grounds me a lot. It's all things humbling, and I think this is what gets me up every morning, is knowing that I can come into this space and really shed some light on some hard conversations, especially around men. Men, we tend to internalize everything in this life, and you know, that's why the reason men are killing themselves every single day. So before I started today, I just want to pop on and just express my gratitude for all the love and support I receive from all of you guys. And today's episode is going to be an absolute cracker. So strap in, and it'll be a good ride. And my guest today is Jono McCullough. How are you, brother?
Mate, I'm doing good. Thanks for having us.
That's all good, mate. Thank you for popping into the space. I can only imagine your life is incredibly busy. Sorry. So yeah, just want to appreciate and send my gratitude over to you for popping in.
Mate, no worries at all.
So as most people know, you were caught up on Married at First Sight, which we'll touch into that. Caught up, yeah. Sorry, wrong words.
No, it is what it is.
You're on Married at First Sight, which obviously changed your life massively. Yeah. You know, we'll touch on that a little bit later on. But I think to get a bit of context for the audience and people listening at home, what was growing up as Jono like? Talking through the early days, how did Jono grow up?
Mate, Jono was very lucky. I was born into a beautiful family, one of three boys. I had the most amazing parents. So I never saw my parents fight, not once. I didn't even see them argue.
Wow, that's a luxury, hey?
Yeah. So my dad worked hard. He was a builder, and he'd leave early, come home late, but he'd come home every day. Mum would be at the door. They'd hug, they'd kiss. And yeah, so I grew up in this fantasy where you know, couples don't fight, which I've actually said to Dad before. I'm like, man, you really distorted reality for me. You know, you didn't get me off, because I think seeing your parents fight would probably be not a horrible thing, because it would make you realise, you know, relationships are hard, but they just made it look so easy. And yeah, man, I had everything I ever needed. I was really lucky. And so, yeah, things took a turn for the worse. So I grew up in a religious family too. I'm not very religious at all now. I'm definitely an atheist. But so Christmas Eve, 1994, Dad came and just said to us, oh, look, I've found a lump in your mum's tummy, and it doesn't look good. It looks like it's cancer. And we were like, oh, so she'll have an operation and she'll be okay. And Dad was like, yeah. And we're like, okay, cool. So that was 24th of December. And then they didn't ever tell us how bad it was, so we didn't know. But it didn't last very long. It was less than a month later, so 16th of January she died. And it was the first night. Dad stayed at the hospital every night. It was the first night she told him, just go home. So we went and stayed with our uncle and auntie. And this is before mobile phones. And yeah, we stayed at our uncle and auntie, woke up the next morning, had breakfast with them, went home, and there were all these voicemails on Dad's answering machine at home. And he called the hospital, and I just remember hearing him say, yep, I'll be there in 5 minutes. And they said to him, don't rush, he passed away a few hours ago. And he broke down horribly. We all did. Mum was like our rock. She did everything in the family. And yeah, man, like life went from real easy to real difficult real quick. Dad lost his soulmate, so he didn't take it too well, and he still did everything for us. Like he'd still get up, but we were pretty self-sufficient from that age. So I was 11 then, so he would be gone when I woke up. But we'd have 3 bowls of fruit on the table with glasses of juice, and the cereal would be there and everything. And then he wouldn't get home till like 7 o'clock at night. So I'd start cooking. I learned to do the washing and the cooking and stuff like that at a young age. But he pretty much, he'd lost his soulmate, mate. So he didn't really talk that much. He'd sit at the table at night time and just wouldn't say anything, but would just cry. Like,
wow.
It was tough, man. And that sort of just became life. We just went from this happy family just to, it was like just boom and just flatlined. And yeah, it doesn't even seem real now looking back at it, but yeah, we just did what we did. And then I think it was almost 2 years to the day after Mum died, my little brother got hit by a bus. So we were riding to the shops, and we were riding to the shops. So it was 2 years to the day of when Mum was diagnosed, sorry.
Fuck.
Yeah, we were riding to the shops to buy Dad a Christmas present, and I watched him. He didn't have brakes on his bike. He was actually joking about it before we left. He hammered down the street and was like, "Look, Jono, no brakes." Anyway, we were riding to the shops, and the light went green just as he was coming up, and a bus was coming in, slowing down, and then as soon as the light went green, it sped up, and he just wasn't able to stop. So he actually hit the side of the bus, but it grabbed his bike, wrapped it around his legs, and sort of pulled him under the bus. And so I saw it happen, so I was off my bike, ran, grabbed him, pulled him out, and he came straight out, and he was only a little kid. I was about twice the size of him, so I pulled him out, ran him over to the traffic island, put him down, and I was like, "Oh man, Dad's going to kill you, you fucked your bike." And he was screaming, and I was like, sort of looked over, and he had compound fractures and stuff, so his foot was here, his right foot, and his bone was torn out of here, and he lost the bottom of his, I think it was his left foot, and they pretty much, so I remember Dad coming to the hospital. I rode in the ambulance with him, and I remember Dad coming to the hospital and just seeing his face. I was just like, fuck, give this guy a break, man, And at the start, they were like, "It's really bad, we're going to have to amputate his right foot." And that was tough, again. And it's sort of like, why does this keep happening to us sort of scenario? But that's a kid's thoughts, right? Like now I know that there's no rhyme or reason in life. Life is life, and things will happen. But at the time, it was sort of starting to get me down. And that's probably not too long after that was when I hung out with the naughty kids at school, and it's probably when we started getting into drugs. So that's my biggest regret in life, is doing drugs as a child. People say I have no regrets. I hate that. It's like, you are either lying to yourself or an angel if you don't have any regrets. Like, I regret things every day. I had too much hot pot last night and I didn't sleep too well because my tummy was full. Like, I regret shit all the time, right? But anyway, my biggest regret in life was getting into drugs, and not just like weed, some hardcore stuff. So pretty much anything. I didn't do heroin, but pretty much, I'm
hearing you, brother.
Yeah, pretty much anything else. And I think as a young adult, what was I, like 14 or something? As a young, you're a child, right? As a child, you shouldn't be doing drugs. Your brain's still forming. And I noticed an immediate difference. I didn't know why at the time, but I quickly cottoned on to I've done something here. I'm not getting that normal, chill, happy, everyday feeling. I actually feel really deeply sad all the time, and I don't know why. And no one else knew this. I was still making jokes and still having fun, but I just had this hollowness inside, and I didn't know at the time what it was. And I ended up didn't want to study at the end of school, so I just went and joined the army. Got shipped up to Townsville, and unfortunately, I was kind of thinking maybe, people in the army, they won't do drugs. That's not true. Probably almost worse up there than it was before. And to add to it, there was back then, like this is over 20 years ago, there's a massive drinking culture in the army. So there was actually mandatory piss-ups, like where every Wednesday, I think it was, they would back trailers up full of booze. Like they'd get all cartons of beer and fill up these trailers with them, and you had to go, and the stuff in the trailers was all free, so you'd just be like, oh, have a beer, have another beer, have another one, and then next minute it's Wednesday and you're hammered. But not that mattered. I was drinking Tuesdays. I think Monday was the only night of the week when I didn't drink. There was nothing on in town, so it took me a while to work out the correlation between alcohol and how horrible I was feeling, but I definitely wasn't feeling good. And a few times when I was in the army, I actually was like, this isn't working, this whole life thing for me. But I think having a strong relationship with my dad always, I couldn't do it because of him. Yeah, I think having that strong relationship, just thinking about how rough his life was, because he had a rough life before me as a kid. He had a rough life. He lost his mum when he was young in horrible circumstances, and his dad was pretty, he was very religious and not very empathetic. But I think I always would come back to, I can't do that to my dad. And I'd always just keep going. And I think, I've never really thought about that, to be honest with you, but I think that strong relationship with him always stopped me from putting a knife through my wrist or something like that, which I came close to a few times, because I just felt there's just this horrible feeling of just nothing, just dread, and it took me a long time to work out that you need to look after yourself. You need to look after yourself physically. You need to look after yourself mentally, especially if you've been doing bad things to your body, if you've been destroying your gut and you don't have all of the flora that you need to be making the right chemicals to be at least... Like, I got to a point where I was like, I don't want to be happy. I just want to be content. I just don't want to feel horrible, And, man, it took me a long time to work that out. And those years were rough. There was just a lot of... And I didn't feel good. So when I drank, I felt good. So let's just drink. And for 20 years easy, I drank at least heavily, like 2 times a week, at least. And then just felt crap the rest of the week. And I just looked forward to those 2 days. And it's no way to live. There's no longevity in that. There's no happy ending with that either.
No.
And yeah, man, I ended up working out, okay, there's certain things I shouldn't eat, and then I started researching so much. I'd read scientific literature, because I started studying nutrition, and then I was looking at the current day literature and what they're teaching in nutrition, and I'm like, these two don't match. These two don't add up. And so diet is so important when it comes to your mental health.
Yeah,
It's
big time, hey?
I'd say if you are not, alcohol and drugs, if they're not a problem in your life, then diet's the next biggest one. If you are doing way too much alcohol and drugs, then that is probably your biggest issue you need to, fix first and foremost. But next is your diet. And most people just don't even know what good food is. Like, I grew up, my parents thought they were eating healthy because we didn't ever go to McDonald's or anything like that. So they were like, that's healthy. But what we were eating, looking back at it, it wasn't that healthy. Like, we'd have cereals, but, on the box it says it's a 5-star rating, and what bullshit. Like, seriously. But anyway. But yeah, fixed my diet, and that took 10 years to do. So that was another long 10 years. And in that time, I decided to give up all drugs. So I still drink. I still have a drink every now and again. But now I'll have, yesterday I had 1 beer. And I actually went to the bottle-o and I bought 1 beer. And I just do that. And I came home and we were having a barbie and had my 1 beer and I was happy,
I think that's something what a lot of people wouldn't be able to do, especially if you've had an experience or a past, I guess, issue with substance or alcohol.
Yeah.
Like going to a bottle and just buying 1 beer, I know for me, I probably wouldn't just get 1 beer.
Yeah.
But that's because I've had an issue, right? And I guess I haven't really, well, I'm not sure. But yeah, I think that's pretty difficult to do to just buy 1 beer. So
in life, whatever is important enough, you will do. People will do anything for vanity. Vanity is a very strong sin, if you want to call it that. People will, go to great lengths to make sure they look good. And if you want badly enough not to be hungover, if you want badly enough, I think, unfortunately, you get to a point, right? You keep abusing your body, you keep doing it, you keep waking up and say, I'm not going to do that anymore, and then you keep doing it. But eventually you'll get to a point where the seesaw tips, and the desire to drink and the desire not to be hungover, or the desire to, I'm not living my best life, I'm not getting everything I can out of this life. That desire needs to outweigh the desire to get fucked up.
Huge, big time. Yeah, I agree.
And I hate hypocrisy, and for me to sit there and tell a 20-year-old, a 30-year-old, even probably about 38 was when I stopped absolutely abusing the shit out of my body. So if someone came to me and said, look, man, I really want to change, I would try and help them. But I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, you shouldn't do this. Because fuck, man, I did it for over 20 years.
Yeah, I think in my sort of experience, it's like you have to get to a point, like you said, you have to get to a point where enough is enough. And, I know people that, I see it all the time. People say they want to change, and even I've had it in my life where I've said to those around me, oh, I want to change. I want to do this. I want to do that. But it doesn't actually come about because you don't actually want to change. That desire is not strong enough.
I think it's a combination of things, right? 100% the desire needs to be there. Just as you're speaking, though, it's your group of friends as well, right? You need to find like-minded people who aren't getting fucked up every weekend and hang out with them. Find a few different groups of people. What's your favourite hobby? Do you love surfing? Great. Find some surfing mates. Go surf with them in the morning. If they love to go and get fucked up, then go hang out with some other people. People who like to go to a jazz club or go camping, go four-wheel driving. Do something. If you put yourself in a situation where you're most likely to drink, you're going to drink. If you go to your mate's place on a Saturday night and all they do is drink and do drugs, like I've done kilos of cocaine in my life, and I would always go and hang out with the people doing the coke when I didn't want to do the coke. And now I look back and go, you're an idiot. Don't go and hang out with them. I'm not saying, cut these people, banish them, but almost kind of you'd need to. You need to go and hang out with them on a Monday morning, if you want to see them, if you want to keep these people in your life. But don't go see them on a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah, show me your 5 friends and I'll show you your future, right?
Yeah, it is unfortunately true because we have those ride or die buddies. We have those friends we've had forever. Like I have friends 30 years, you know, I've known them. And it's hard to say I'm not going to go and hang out with these people anymore. But sometimes you need to make that choice. I think if you can take yourself out of the scenario, the situation where it's most likely, the bad thing in your life is most likely to happen, that's good. But then you also need that seesaw that we're talking about, right? So pile stuff onto the good end. What are all the good things you want in your life? What are, you know, what do you want to do as a job? What do you want to do to give back to the community? What are your goals? What are your ambitions? Pile stuff on that end of the seesaw that you love to do. And I, for years, thought the only way I could get enjoyment in life was by getting messed up.
Fuck yeah, I agree, bro.
Yeah, like that was all I looked forward to, and it's all like I literally worked. There's a song, I work hard so I can do more coke or whatever. I remember listening to that song, and it's the dumbest song, but it really resonated with me.
Dude, that was the story of my life for many years. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I used to I used to have it in my budget. Like when I was doing coke, I would have it in my budget.
And that's now you look back and go, fuck, that's sad, eh?
Very sad. And I was actually, you know, I'm still, yesterday I posted up a little clip of the workshop I did with TAFE Queensland just over a week ago. And it's the first time I've ever actually started crying whilst editing a clip.
Oh man, that's cool.
Because, you know, I was talking about, you know, in the workshop I was very open and very transparent with my troubles with addiction in the past years and how I've gotten to where I am now. It's like I don't give myself enough credit for how far I've come. And I think I was watching it back and I was listening to myself speak about the experiences that I was having about drug addiction, and it was like I wanted to run from everything in life. I didn't want to be here tomorrow. I didn't want to wake up.
Yeah.
So I was picking up anything I could to get a fix, to get a high. And I was editing it back and I was listening to it, and I just dropped my phone and I just started crying. It's like I think in my journey there were times where I didn't want to be here at all. I was picking up coke any chance I could get, you know, heavier stuff than coke as well.
Yeah.
Not heroin, but you know, that was where I was at. And I think for a lot of people who have gone through struggles with addiction, through substances, through alcoholism, gambling even, when you come out on the other side of it, you don't give yourself the recognition that you need and that you deserve. And I think it's hard to decipher, especially when we're going back to the conversation about friends and group circles. You know, I was hanging out with people who were doing coke when I said I didn't want to do coke. What am I going to do? I'm going to snort coke.
Yeah.
It's like I'm hanging out with people who are smoking. What am I going to do? I'm going to smoke. It's like, you know, show me your 5 friends and I'll show you future. If you hang out with the smoker, you're going to become the second.
Yeah.
If you hang out with the cokehead, you're going to be the second cokehead.
Yeah.
If you hang out with a bong rat, you're going to be the second bong rat.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people in this time of life, we get capitalized on the foundations of friendships, when I think that's a great way to put on relationships and capitalize on it. But I think you have to look at the exterior from a different perspective. What does their lifestyle look like? Does your lifestyle does your lifestyle align with them? And I think the moment I started to step forward and to create a change within my own life was looking at those exterior motives from the people around me. Were those people encouraging me to do X, Y, Z? Yeah. Did I want to do it? No. You said they're not right for me. I think if you're going through a period of change or a struggle and people are still encouraging that and enforcing that onto you, I think that is one of the biggest red flags anyone could ever have.
Yeah.
And it's all around us every single day. I think I still have times where I'm like, I could really go for a line. Or I could, you know, really want to go to the pav and just turn one on, you know, spend half the night in the fucking bathroom cubicle talking shit about the person next to me, you know.
Plans for the future.
Yeah, plans for the future, like this incredible business idea, this incredible plan I have for my life and all the amazing things that are in my life. But there I am snorting coke in the fucking bathroom, you know what I mean?
Toilet. Yeah, you have those moments of clarity when you're in a mangy ass toilet and you've just spent, half your paycheck on this little bag of something that's probably mostly, let's be honest, like laundry detergent.
Yeah.
And you just go, what the fuck am I doing? It stinks in here, literally, there is a shit in that toilet right there. There's piss all over the floor. But then it's amazing how strong that desire is to get people to do that, right? Like, I've had multiple times where I've got caught in bathrooms doing coke by security guys who've been bashing on the door.
Yeah, more times than I can count, brother.
Fuck
yeah.
You're just like, well, we might as well do all of it,
Yeah, pour it
probably going to take it off us.
Yeah.
And looking back on that now, you're just like, why? What? But I think, look, if you can hang out with people doing coke and not do it, then take my hat off to you.
Kudos to you, man.
Yeah, kudos to you for sure. But I think that if you're putting yourself in that situation, you're more likely to. And also, what benefit are you getting from those people? The conversations you have are mostly garbage. There's no real, intimate or emotional human connection that you're going to get with people when they're off their face. It's not real anyway. They could wake up the next morning and be like, who the fuck are you?
Because that's what we usually do anyway, right?
Yeah, exactly. Wake up beside someone and be like, hey, I'm Jono. What's your name?
Been there.
Yeah, and you've just spent $500,000 maybe the night before.
Mm-hmm.
For what? Destroyed your brain a bit more. Man, I wonder, do you ever think about how switched on you'd be right now if you'd never done drugs or never drank?
I have had this conversation with myself before. I think even just like with my own person, like my sinuses are fucked. I constantly have a blocked nose or a runny nose, like 80% of the time, because of the amount of stuff I've had up there. I think that's one of the biggest things I've noticed. Even like my ears are blocked because they're all connected, right? Yeah. So I think on a, on the outside, that's really what's wrong with me. Like that's the biggest thing I've seen from my years of abuse. But I think in terms of like psychological, I think I've just scraped by. Yeah. Like there's some things I do and I'm like, wow, that was really weird. And
I more think about how quick I am, how sharp I am. I used to be able to process maths equations in my brain really good. Those days are long gone. Like I'm talking like probably until I was like 25. I was so sharp at processing information and that, and I don't know. I think it would be interesting to know. It would be great to be able to jump back and run through a life where you didn't do anything and just see if you had a lot more clarity. If you just wake up in the morning a bit more chipper,
just jump out of bed a little bit quicker, eh?
Yeah. But I think, there's another conversation, right? Motivations. I think a lot of people assume that they look at a successful person, they go, that person there just wakes up charging, that person every day. It's not the case, right? And that's where it's your own self, it's within you. You're the one who needs to get yourself up in the morning, and you're the one who needs to self-motivate you. There was a guy I like to listen to if I'm feeling a bit down, just motivational stuff. I'll just get on YouTube, type something in, and just listen to motivational stuff. And there's a really good one where a guy says, pretty much your life is your responsibility and your responsibility alone. And a lot of people will say, but I had a rough childhood, or and people have had horrible stuff happen to them, horrific stuff. People have been molested, raped, horrible stuff. But I had a client years ago, and she came over from Africa. She saved up heaps of money and moved over here, and she had a successful business here. She had a husband and a child, and I met with all three of them. And then she asked to come back about a week later, and she's like, I just want to come back by myself and have a chat with you. And I was like, yeah, sure. And she was like, when I was young in Africa, she was from South Africa. She's like, I went out one night when I was young, got separated from my friends. I got bashed, I got gang raped, and I now have HIV. And I was just like, whoa. And she wanted to know if she could get life insurance. And I was like, oh, wow. And this lady could have gone, you know, as a teenager, she ended up with HIV, and she could have just gone, that could have become her life. That could have become her identity. I'm someone who was raped who got HIV. But she went, no, I'm not letting this stop me. She, and then she, you know, went through life. She went, got a job, saved up her money, and moved over to Australia to start a new life. And I think a lot of people, you, me, everyone could look at what has happened in their past and just go, oh, you know, I got dealt a rough card, so, you know, that's why.
That's why I'm a shit person.
Yeah, either that's why I'm a shit person, or that's why I'm not going to amount to anything. I have all this baggage behind me, dragging me, slowing me down. And, you know, everyone has the choice, is my point. Everyone has the choice each day to get up and do something. Everyone has a choice to not let what's happened to them. Like most of the greatest people in the world are the people who went through the most struggle, right? So how dare you sit there and say no, or sit there in your own mind and be like, no, I can't do that because, you know, my life's been real tough, or, you know, I didn't grow up in a rich family. Like, I didn't grow up in a rich family, but I think your life is your responsibility and your responsibility alone. No one is going to come and save you. No one is going to, you know, go, oh, this poor guy, you know, he got picked on as a kid, so, you know, we should just give him a really good job and $1 million and buy him. No, that's not how it fucking happens. You need to get up every day and you need to hustle. You need to push yourself. It doesn't matter what's happened to you. It doesn't matter if you're, how you were born, where you were born. It doesn't matter. It's on you, right? And a lot of people, I think, don't realise that. Get up, get at it.
It's kind of like, you know, our traumas aren't our responsibility, but how we move forward with them is.
Yes.
And I think, like, that's been, you know, I've had some shit things happen to me. I've been through some shit things. But, you know, it is all about how you get up the next morning and how you go about it. You know, I could sit here and stop for days about some of the shit I went through and say about some of the stuff I've done. Or I could still be doing that same shit to keep running from that trauma.
Yeah.
Right? And I think why I do so much men's work and why I'm in this space is because I want to be able to expand my own internal dialogue, if you will, and like even my own knowledge about what my traumas are, why did I experience them, and how can I move forward. I did my men's retreat just about 2 weeks ago. I had a lot of emotional breakthroughs, a lot of journeys that I went through along, you know, breath work, even just sitting there and meditating and breathing through my body consciously. It's like some of the things what come up I did not even know I had. There was past relationship traumas. There was past traumas with dad, you know, my whole family even. Like some things I didn't even know what was there. They come up. And, you know, I'm proud of myself for working through it. And I think a lot of people, they don't allow themselves to put themselves in a place of vulnerability, even with each other. You know, there was people who are probably going to think this is a bit weird, but I don't care. We had this, the first day I was there for about 3 hours. It's about 180 to 200 men. We're all in different, you know, everyone's from different shapes of life, different walks of life, whatever else, you know. Just imagine 200 men standing in a circle. We got blindfolded and we marched around this huge field, and we ended up inside this big arena type thing, and it was blacked out by tarp around us, and there was this huge bonfire in the middle. And the facilitator said, "Man, this is the shame circle. This is the shame fire. Whatever you reveal today is going to be put in fire, and it's going to be removed from your life." I'm like, all right, here we go. Sweet, let's do it. And the facilitator stepped forward and he said, "Man," one of the facilitators will step into the ring and say, "Have you ever felt shame or feel shame about XYZ? If that resonates with you, step forward." I'm like, yes, sweet. And he goes, "This will be done naked." And, I had
200 dudes.
200 men with their rig out.
What's that like?
Mate,
That's wild.
I think straight away, I could feel my heart in my throat.
Yeah.
Just like the most left field, uncomfortable thing. And I sat with it and I'm like, holy fuck. Like I was waiting for that. No, I'm just kidding, boys. Keep your kid on. But no. Bloke started stripping their bloody rig off straight away. And I'm like, fuck, if you can't beat them, join them, right?
Some guys love to be nude.
They do, man. Yeah, especially in that space. I mean, it sort of caught me by surprise. But
Was
yeah,
it cold?
It was a cold night. Yeah. Anyway,
Standing close to the bonfire.
Yeah. So anyway, we all get a kid off, and instantly it was ego death. I had no sense of ego about myself. I was like stripped of my manhood instantly, and I didn't. You turn around and everyone is it's just raw. It's real. It's raw.
I guess that's the point of it, eh?
It is, and I think it comes back to like at the end of the day, we're all human. No matter who you are, no matter how much money you have, no matter what type of career you have, no matter what mental state you're in. At the end of the day, we're all human. We all have the same body parts. We all have the same characteristics to an extent. And some of the questions what were being asked were really raw, really truthful, and it was just like, fuck, just go all in. And I know for me, I really encourage myself to step in and to take it as an absolute opportunity for growth and development.
Yeah.
And when you have facilitators stepping in the ring, and they say, man, have you felt shame or feel shame about the amount of money you make or the type of work you do, or if you find another male attractive, or if you've ever, just all these really shameful type of, practices what you've done in your life, no matter what it is. I think it really enforced us that, we're all human. We all do fucking go through shit. And for me, it's like we carry so much shame and so much guilt in our consciousness every single day. We don't even realize it. There were some things said where I didn't even know to bat an eyelid at outside of that retreat. Stepping inside the circle and looking around at all the brothers who have stepped up with you, who have taken that step of courage to be able to offload your shame into that fire and project it into that fire to burn it out from your life.
Powerful.
It was very powerful. And I think afterwards, that went on for about 45 minutes, and there was another practice spot.
That's a long time to be nude.
Yeah, man, it was a cold night too in the hinterland. And then we all sort of got back into into our own circles. We were in pods for the weekend, and we were then told every single one of us had to take a turn at standing in our own circle and say, man, if you truly knew me, you would know that I, blah, blah, blah. And you just reveal your darkest truth.
Yeah, wow.
Mind you, we're all still nude. We're all still looking in each other's eyes. We're all just like...
Still nude.
Yeah, we were one.
Jeez.
And, some of the stories I heard from those men was just like, holy fuck, my problems feel so small. And I think it goes back to so much men, we carry so much baggage and we try and put on a brave front. Some of the stories I heard, you wouldn't even think about that happen to them just by looking at them.
So this is, we all have problems in our life, right? And I think as human beings, if we don't have problems, we seem to incite them. We'll seem to find one. It's just, I don't know why, but...
You'll find what you look for, right?
I don't know why. It seems like if human beings don't have much going on in their life, they will find something to complain about. So we all have problems, is my point. No matter how big or small they be, we all have problems. But if I think if I'm ever going through a tough spot, I think back to times in my life where I've actually been going through a tough spot and be like, okay, it's not as bad as then. Or like at the moment, I've got a lot on that we're trying to do, and there's a lot of pressure and a lot of stress, and you're like, oh man, getting stressed and stuff like that. And then yesterday my mate goes, Co and Ray died.
I saw that.
And then I just was like, what?
What a shock.
But then you just go, I immediately go, what have I been complaining about?
Mm.
Like, I have no problems. I have none, zero. And I think if you are if you have your health, like if you're
Health is wealth, man.
if you have your health and you have a roof over your head and you have at least one person who loves you, whether it be your mum, your dad, like, I just don't think we have anything to complain about. I think the rest of it is all bullshit.
It's all made up fantasy, I think. You know, nothing ever is good or bad. They just are.
Yeah.
So it's all about our perception of how we perceive things in this life and what comes about of everything we do.
Yeah.
It all comes back to how we look at it.
But he apparently, I didn't know, he'd had strokes, a lot of strokes over the years. I didn't know. And I don't think anyone knew. And he still got out there every day and just, you know, smashed it, just went at life, just helped people be the best versions of themselves, help them grow businesses, help them do everything when he was struggling and no one even knew. And that's, I guess, sort of what we're talking about. Like, if he can do it, knowing that he must have had heart problems, I guess, right? Like, if he kept on having strokes. And so if he can still do it knowing his health is really bad, like, who the fuck are we to ever complain about anything? There are so many people at the moment going through cancer, going through chemo, just, you know, hoping, will I make it? Will I make it through this? Like, I think... So for me, I've had a few times in life where I've really been down and out, and the thing that's helped me most is going, okay, with this situation that I have at the moment that's causing me all this stress and anxiety, I dive deep into it and go, where is the worst that this can go? So say, as an example, say you had a business and it wasn't doing well and it was causing you all this stress and anxiety, or say you had a job that you hated and it was causing you all this stress and anxiety. At the time, for me, it was a job that I had one of the times, and I went, okay, worst possible scenario is the job becomes too much. I quit, I leave, because I wasn't enjoying the work I was doing. I was like, I won't be able to afford to live because I won't have an income, but I haven't lived with Dad since I was 17, so he owes me one because some of my siblings stayed at home until they're like 27, so I'll go back, I'll live with Dad, that'll be awesome. I love spending time with him. And it would be embarrassing, you know, it'd be embarrassing to lose everything, but I'll lose everything I've saved up for. That's okay. I will go, I'll live with Dad. I have someone who loves me. I'll live with them. I'll go and study something I actually want to do in life because I don't like my current job. And then eventually, it'll take time, but eventually I'll be in a job I love, making money again, and I'll be able to build the assets I've lost back up again. That's that sort of process. So I think in life, if you can work out the worst possible scenario, because a lot of the times we might even be anxious and not even know why. It's just this feeling you have in your gut and you don't even know why. But if there is a event-specific thing that you are anxious about, delve deep into it. Go hard at it. Go, okay, so I'm anxious because my job's not going well, or I'm fighting with my partner, or whatever. Go straight at the issue and go as deep as you can into it and get to the worst possible case scenario that it could be, and then get comfortable with that. And usually you will. We usually just sit there and we just be anxious, but we don't do much about it. We don't try and find the exact core reason why we are and delve right into it. And I find if you do, you can usually get to a point where you're like, well, you know, this relationship I'm fighting and it's making me feel anxious. I'm not sleeping very well because we're always fighting, blah, blah, blah. Worst case scenario is we break up, you know, and maybe we're not meant for each other, and maybe some time apart we would heal, and then, and then I would come out the other end of that, and maybe my partner, who I do love, will find a person who'll make them happy, you know, and then they'll be happy, and then I'll find someone who, you know, delve deep into it, get comfortable with whatever the fear is that you have, the anxiety you have. And if you can get comfortable, at the end of the day, if your fear or anxiety isn't going to lead to your death, you have nothing to complain about. If your fear or anxiety is, I have cancer and I might die, you know, I feel horribly sorry for you, because you actually have something to complain about, but no one else does. But there's not many people in that boat. There's more people in the, I don't have enough money, I'm overweight, I don't like the way I look. It might be all these little tiny things, and they don't mean anything, you know. Money doesn't make you happy.
No,
I've gone from making a lot of money to losing a lot and back, and at the time when I was making the most amount of money, it was probably when I was the least happy in my whole life.
That's one thing I always tell people. You know, I've done FIFO a couple times, and you're like, yeah, the money is just fucking unreal. But it's when I was the most miserable. I was the most down and out. I was the most depressed I've ever been.
It doesn't make you happy. You think it'll make you happy because you can buy things. You buy this thing that you want, and then within what, an hour, a day, a week, it's just something that you have at your house.
Just wears off, yeah.
Yeah. Things don't make you happy. Experiences do. Talking to a friend who's having a bad time. How many times do we have friends who we know they're not doing too well, but we're like, you'll be right, mate. Like, we don't actually just sit them down and have a chat with them.
I don't do that anymore. I think definitely before I started into the space, I definitely was, you know, yeah, you'll be right, bro. But now I actively sit down with people and I say, what is going on, man? And there's one thing you said about anxiety, and I think what I've found is anxiety is just masking a true emotion. The feeling of anxiety or stress, there's something below that. And I sort of resonated with you when you said to go dive deep into your anxiety. I think whenever I feel anxious or I'm experiencing a period of time of anxiety, I sit with it. And I think it's been one of the most incredible experiences along self-development as well. It's like when you can notice your emotions, they're going sideways or going south. And if you can sit with that and ask yourself, what is it teaching me, or what else is there? I think anxiety is like excitement controlled in a different way.
Yeah.
You can always control your anxiety. And I think when I was told to get my kid off in front of 200 men,
it's really cold.
And it's a cold night. I'm like, fuck, like my anxiety went bang. But in that moment I sat with it. I'm like, all right, channel that into excitement. I'm be excited that you can reveal your truth. Be excited that you can let out some shame or guilt I've been experiencing from some things over the years. Like, channel your anxiety into something that's going to be purposeful. If you're going on, I don't know, say a first date and you're anxious, turn that anxiety into excitement to be able to be
100%.
on, you know?
100%. You can change it, right?
Perspective,
I
man.
tell this to people all the time. So if you can have an event and a scenario, something in your life that's causing some form of emotion, and we'll have from evolutionary, like our body will naturally go, anxiety is meant to be there to save us, right? To save us in an event where everyone uses a saber-toothed tiger to show that way back in the day. Saber-toothed tiger's chasing you, you get this anxious, you get cortisol, you'll get all these things happen in our body to help us get away from that thing. We actually, like, the best thing you can do if you get anxiety is hit the ground and do like 200 push-ups, because that's what our body's wanting to do. It's putting us in a situation where we will be able to fight or flight, get the hell out of there, right? But we're not. We're sitting probably on our couch, on our phone at the time, right? And you can channel anything into something else. And so
But you have to allow yourself to do that too. I think what one thing people don't.
You just have to think about it. You have to, in that moment when you are anxious and you're letting that anxiety run through you and run over you and take control of you and you're losing yourself, right? In that moment, you need to go, wait, why am I feeling this way? Okay, why do I have this horrible feeling in my stomach? Why do I feel sick? Because our brain just stops thinking, right? We stop thinking normally, naturally. Take a minute, okay, why am I feeling this way? Okay, there's this thing that's happening, and I'm worried that, you know, my friends might think I'm an idiot or whatever it might be, and okay, let me think about this. I'm feeling really shit, and it's about people. I'm a bit embarrassed. My friends might, think this way about me. Would my friends want me to feel this way? No. Usually if you delve into it, you can find a source and you can find some reason, you can be reasonable about it. And my friends wouldn't want me to feel this way. They wouldn't want me to be anxious. They wouldn't want me to be depressed. I am worried about something that if I told them, if I just went and said, oh guys, I'm feeling pretty anxious because, I did this the other night, I was a bit embarrassed and I'm worried that you guys are feeling this way about me. They'd be like, dude, are you kidding? I forgot that even happened.
Yeah, I think we overcapitalise on some of those things, hey?
Well, we overthink. Our worst enemy is our own mind, but it can be also your greatest asset, right? But that's where another thing I love to do is when I'm feeling down or feeling depressed or anxious about something is turn it into anger. I way prefer anger. So males, we got here from having testosterone, from being angry, from being able to fight for our lives. That is our thing. We have, but focus it somewhere good. When you talk about anger, people go, oh, bro, you can't be angry. What are you doing? Rage, that's not a good thing. But these are the things that got us here. This is how we survived. We survived by having controlled aggression, right? Where you use aggression to a benefit. So I love to do it, but I go to the gym and I think about all these things that are upsetting me and annoying me, and I turn it, instead of letting it overwhelm me and make me depressed, make me anxious, I turn it into aggression, and I literally look at a weight and go, you're getting fucked up today, buddy. Something that I might not normally be able to pick up, I can do by channeling something that I could go towards anxiety or depression. I channel it the other way, and I get angry about the things that are annoying me. Like, instead of letting them overwhelm me, I go, fuck this shit. No, I'm sick of it. You can either be sad about it, but take it to the gym, take it to the field and run your ass off and run it and scream. Let it out, Don't let it sit inside you. And I actually find if I can be feeling really crap, I can go to the gym and I can let it out. I can lift more weight than I normally would, do more reps than I normally would by channeling that into a positive place.
I think channeling, when people think of anger and aggression, they think of toxic masculinity.
They do. They think of, you're angry towards women. It's no, but we have this testosterone in our bodies, and it's a great thing for men to have a good level of testosterone, right? You'll heal faster, you'll grow more muscle, you'll burn more fat. It's an amazing thing to have. But it's like nowadays, it's like, oh, no, you can't. You can't be aggressive. Yeah, be aggressive. Just don't do it to a cop. Don't do it to a woman. Don't do it to a child.
Yeah, for
Don't
sure.
do it to another man who doesn't deserve it. But there's another thing. Like, if someone, stand up for yourself,
Yeah, this is big. I think especially doing post-men's retreat the other week, I've never felt so bold and so firm in my masculinity in the most healthiest ways.
Yeah.
Right? So I don't take disrespect very well. If you disrespect me, I'm going to say something about it.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to channel that into a toxic place. I'm just going to let you know how you don't do that to another man.
Yeah.
And I think some of the practices I did on that retreat, it's like using aggression and channeling it into a healthy way, having a healthy output for your aggression, and instead of channeling it into a place of toxic masculinity, I think there is, that's why men's work at the moment it's slowly coming to surface and it's being normalized, I think. Because what we do is we take, groups of men from the outside world who, the stigma still surrounds the tabooness of some conversations, and, looking at a man from the other foot and be like, oh, he's just an absolute fucking dirtbag piece of shit. It's like, no, men aren't dirtbag pieces of shit. Yeah, there is some men who are fucking like that for sure, absolutely. But I think once a male allows himself to tap into that and to see aggression from a different point of view like you do, and channeling that into a way of healthy benefit of, lifting more weights or going to the track, whatever it is, channeling it into a way where it's healthy for you and those around you, I think you become more of a beacon of masculinity in your own right.
Because I talked about physical ways you can channel aggression, but you can also channel it into motivation.
Absolutely. You have two things when things happen to you. You can either let it fuel you, you can let it defeat you.
Yeah, 100%. You can channel it into motivating you to do those things you've wanted to do. Like, I think a lot of people look at the scope or the size of something they want to do. It might be starting a business, and they go, too much, too big, too hard. Take that mountain and chip it into little rocks and just do a little rock at a time.
That's a great way to put it, hey?
Yeah, just chip it into little rocks. Just do something each day. Add something to your list each day that you do, whether it be, at the moment I get up and just go for a walk. Maybe I'm just going to jog a little bit of that walk, I'm just going to, it doesn't have to be, I don't have time to go to the gym, it takes, 2 hours out of my day. Cool, do 20 push-ups, and then tomorrow do 30. Do some sit-ups, do some air squats. People are like, oh, you have to have a gym membership. I can't afford one. No, you don't. You don't at all. I know some really fit people who just do body weight stuff. You go on Instagram or YouTube, you can find weapons of people who just do body weight stuff. And I don't have the time. It's like, bullshit. You make time for what's important. You don't have 2 minutes a day. 2 minutes a day, I could get someone puffed out of their mind and working muscles they didn't know they had in 2 minutes a day. If I said to you, get down now and do solid push-ups non-stop for 2 minutes, you'd be destroyed.
You'd be fucked.
2 minutes. And what would happen? That would make a big difference. You'd start growing some chest, you'd get some shoulders, some arms going on. And then, add some dips in there, add some body weight squats in there. When you're brushing your teeth, sit in a squat position, like bend down in a squat position when you're brushing. I hate people saying, no, I don't have the time. Ooh, it makes me so mad. It makes me so mad because it's like, show me your screen time on your phone there, bro. Oh, 4 hours a day, eh? 4 hours a day on your phone.
Yeah, you don't want to see my screen time.
But it's like, I haven't heard you say I don't have the time.
True. Right. I make time for everything in my life. I'm still training twice a day. I work 10-hour days, 11-hour days sometimes.
Yeah.
And, I still make time for the things I do because I love it.
Yeah.
And, that's by doing the things I do, it's a byproduct of my happiness and my gratitude.
Yeah. By
creating the space and making sure that I'm there for myself and for those around me. Yeah, of course I want to do that. Why wouldn't I?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I could probably say I don't have time for a lot of things, but they just aren't on my plate. You know what I mean?
There's things that aren't in my vocabulary and I can't. It's just not, I don't do it. I hate when people say I can't do it. I immediately, it doesn't matter who it is, I immediately always say, you can do anything, I believe in you.
Yeah, dude, 100%.
My Mrs. Ellie always, I can't do that. And I'm like, you can do anything, I believe in you.
You can literally do anything you put your mind to.
Yeah, you can do anything.
There's people around you who are living testaments to that statement, right? We see it all the time. Even sometimes the people closest to you are living statements to that.
Yeah.
Overcoming adversity, success, failures.
Yeah.
I guarantee at one point in their life they thought that they couldn't do it. But here they are showing off for themselves, you know what I mean?
I didn't think I'd have the ability to study ever. and I had a mate convince me I could do it. I ended up studying, doing a double diploma, and did that job for 15 years. You know, I didn't think I had it in me to do it because at school I couldn't concentrate. I couldn't read.
Easily distracted and distracts those around you, hey, on the report card.
Dude.
Fuck yeah, dude. Story of my life.
Every report card my entire life has potential.
Yeah.
Distracts easily. But I, because I couldn't read a single page, I just thought, oh, okay, I'm just not that smart. I didn't realise it was a concentration thing. I thought it was I'm just not that smart kind of thing. And so I was okay with it. I was comfy. I had a brother who's a genius, and I was like, good for you. And I was just like, and I'm just going to go and do something else over here, you know. And I had a mate who's like, no, you could totally do this course, man. You could. Are you kidding? And
Talk to me about that course and how that led down for you.
So I was concreting at the time. So I did 4 years as an infantry soldier. And then I actually was going to be a career soldier. But the army is an interesting place. I would do it all again, and I would do it probably for another 2 or 3 years if I could go back. But there was I'd done something called Barrier for Special Forces, so I'd got into commandos, and they just wouldn't complete my paperwork to let me go to Sydney. And so I ended up just one day going, I'm done. I'm getting out. I'm not letting these guys dictate my life. I waited for 3 months for them to fill out a form, and they didn't do it. And I'd trained so hard, like in the lead up to Barrier. So I was like, stuff it. And I got out. I ended up doing concrete resurfacing, and I hated that. I did it for 2 years. I made good money. Had my own little business doing that. And then I met a mate, Aaron, and he said he was a financial planner, and he's like, why don't you do this? It's like, you know, a great job. He's like, you love helping people. You can help people with their finances. And I was like, oh, that sounds pretty cool. And I was like, oh, nah. Because he drove a flash car, and like I was working, 12-hour days concreting, and he was looked like he just had the best life ever. And I just said, no, I wouldn't be able to do that, man. I can't. You don't understand. I can't study. I can't barely even read a book. And he's like, Jono, you can do this. And after probably a year, he convinced me to give it a go. And I ended up doing it was a 2-year course. I did it in like 6 months whilst I was concreting, and got a job doing that, and did that for 15 years. So that was a pretty big change from going from infantry to concreting to sitting behind a computer. But it's interesting, I learnt a lot. And that's how I've sort of I've been pretty lucky. I haven't really worked in 3 years. So just had some investments and stuff like that I built up over time. And all the businesses I had, so I've done 5 businesses where I've grown them and sold them, doing like share sale agreements. And I set all the businesses up as I was going along to be saleable assets. And that's something I'd love to teach people how to do, because it's a thing you can do. You just need to think about it. You just need to set it up right from the start. Or even if you have an existing business, you just need to start changing it into something that people want to buy. And I was able to do that. It was middle of COVID, and I was with a chick, and we broke up. And I was just like, I need a change. I need something different. And I had 3 houses at the time, and 2 businesses at that stage. And I sold everything. Sold all my houses and flew to Colombia just to go on a bit of a I want to say spiritual journey, but just self-development journey. Yeah. Everyone's like, oh, you went to Colombia, eh? And I was like, how much
coke did you snort?
None.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd been to Colombia before.
Yeah, different story
then. But this time I went by myself, and I literally was staying in a place where no one spoke English. And
cool.
Yeah, that was the whole point.
That's fucking sick, man.
Yeah, and I was there for a couple of months, and then I'd move on to a new place and ended up going all the way up through, up through like Panama, and what's the one above Panama? I can't remember. But ended up getting, all the way up through South Central America. And I'd just get up every day and I'd read books. And I think it's so important if you're struggling in life, like get that friend circle that's better that we talked about before, hang out with the right people, but fill your mind with positive, motivating, reinforcing things. Like, and that's what I did. Every day I'd go for really long walks and I'd have the AirPods in and I'd just listen to whether it be motivational things or, you know, how to turn your life around, how to do this, how to do that, how to be a better partner. Because I was like, I had a lot of partners over the years and I'd never gotten married. Like I got engaged once, but I'd always seemed to end up being like, nah, this isn't for me. And you know, I was like, maybe it's me. You know, I think in life, the first person you should probably look at if there's an issue is just making sure it's not you. You know, we always just blame everyone else. But
And point the finger. I think taking accountability is such a strong, you know, such a strong trait of responsibility for our own life.
Yeah, it's
and, you know,
not natural though, is it? We naturally do not want to do that. So going, okay.
It's humbling as fuck.
Yeah, maybe it's me. So I started to look into relationship books and what I really wanted to do is be calmer. I was pretty fiery as a young person. Like everyone knew me as the fiery person who'd just go off the handle, and I wanted to be able to not lose my shit when I didn't want to. And that was probably I thought that'd be a good trait going on maths, but turns out it's a bad one. Turns out that if you want to good at it on maths, you want to lose your shit and you want to get angry at people, you know. And I wouldn't. I just remained calm and wouldn't lose my shit at anyone. And they pretty much just went, oh, let's just make him look real boring and we'll make it look like he can't talk. And anyway, that's another story. Yeah, man, I think it's so important to when you're at gym, like a lot of people will just listen to the same music every fucking day. Start listening to some different stuff. Start just literally YouTube. We have 1 trillion hours of content right there. You can learn new things. I'd listen to anyone from Jordan Peterson to Joe Rogan podcast to just type motivation into YouTube, and there is a never-ending amount of things where motivational speakers, I'll just take clips out of stuff they've said, and I used to write them down, the bits I loved, and I've got 3 of these little diaries now just filled with gems, absolute gems of and like what I said before, your life is your responsibility. That one resonated with me, so I wrote it down, and by writing them down I'd remember them, and then I'd have a process each morning when I'd go get a coffee, and I'd just flick through the book and just have a look at a few, and I'd open it up to a random page and just look through some of the things I'd written down. I'm like, oh yeah, that's fucking good.
That's a good one. I've got on my phone. I've got my notes section. You'd be sitting there for a month of Sundays reading all the motivational quotes I got in there.
Yeah,
and you know it's definitely helped me a lot. But going back to your business chat, very curious there. What's the secret of having 5 successful businesses and being able to get to a point where you don't have to work? Because I think having one successful business, you're already ahead of the pack. But to lead on with 5 and to have that much of an impact, you know, financially as well, like what does that look like? How do you get to that level of entrepreneurship?
Oh, see, I've never called myself an entrepreneur. I don't. So I was chatting with this guy one day, and I sort of said how I set my business up, and then I was able to go travel. So I traveled for about 18 months whilst running the last 2 businesses.
And they were shareholders, you said, finances and stuff?
So that one, I actually had a mortgage broking business and a form of an accounting business. And people were like, are you an accountant? I'm like, no. But I just paid people to do the work. And I explained to this guy how I'd set this business up. And he's like, oh, did you read 5 Hour Workweek? And I was like, oh, that's like Tim Ferriss' book, hey, I've heard of it. And I'm like, no, I haven't read it. And he's like, oh, don't. And I'm like, why? And he's like, because you're already doing it. And I was like, oh, okay.
That'd be so nice, man. I could not think of anything better than to work 5 hours a week just to get paid bank.
Well, that's what I was doing. Like at the time, so I'd sold my biggest business, being the financial planning one. I'd sold that. So I had some money in the bank. So I started trading shares. And that I would not recommend to anyone. That's dangerous stuff. Like I recommend looking for good opportunities in massive companies that you think are going to change the world in some way, and invest your money into them and just leave it. But I do still trade shares because I love it. It's like almost a form of a drug for me. Like it's like pretty much like gambling, but it's a bit of fun. But I don't do it with a large amount of money. I do it with a small amount of money, and that's my little fun time. And I do it for about an hour each morning. I'll go through, look at different companies, how they've been doing, look for good opportunities. A company might have one bad quarter because of a very obvious situation, but the market goes, ugh, and it reacts really badly. And I'll be like, that company's still legit. That company's still good. I'm going to put a bit of money into that and see if it comes back up, you know. And then if it does, I'll, whilst utilizing volatility, I'll make a bit of money here and there, but I don't recommend that. So going back to your original question, find something. Like I was all in on the work I did. I worked my ass off. I would wake up and go to work, and I worked really hard is what I'm saying, in the beginning. But then I did learn that everyone knows work smarter, not harder. And I feel like it's so cliche, but at the end of the day, it is true. If you find yourself sitting at a desk for 8 hours a day just because you think you should, you're not doing the right thing. You should be, when you're at your desk working, your absolute heart out. And then if you don't have anything else to do, get away from your desk, go do something else, okay? Because I was guilty of this. I sold one of my businesses. I had two other ones. For some reason, my brain for about 3 months was like, you still need to be at your desk 10 hours a day. And I was. I still sat at my desk 10 hours a day. And then one day I was like, what am I doing? What am I doing here? And I actually went, if I get a VA and spend a month, a virtual assistant, spend a month training them to do this, and get another one and spend a month training them to do this part of my job, I'll feed all the real technical queries. But most of the stuff that I was doing at that stage was just...
You didn't need to.
I didn't need to do it. And so I think I found two VAs paid about $1,000 a month each in the Philippines. Yep. And they took on the bulk of the work I did, and I just fielded any queries that they didn't understand. So their thing was do everything. Anything you have any sort of question about, come to me. But when you come to me, I want you to have what you think the answer is. That's important. If you have staff, tell them, you're allowed to come and ask me questions whenever you want. But the first thing I'm going to do is ask you what you think it is, what you think the answer is. Because it'll start getting them feeling confident enough to not come back and annoy you for every little fucking thing, which is what people do. If there is someone above you, a human being's brain goes like this. Pretty sure I know what it is, but I'm just going to go over in here and ask Jono just in case anyway. Like people will come up to me and I'll be like, what do you think it is? And they'll be like, I think it's this. I'm like, yep, you're right, good work. And then they start getting to the point where they're like, oh, everything is right, what I think it is. I probably know the answer to all these questions. So I did that with my VAs. And I went from sitting at my computer 10 hours a day to... the first thing I did was when I broke up with that chick, was I packed up everything. I had a boat, I had a car, and I filled the boat with camping gear and put my laptop on the front seat and just started driving north in Queensland. And it took me about 4 months. I would go out onto islands for, a couple of days at a time. At one point I went out onto this island 80 k's offshore for 16 nights by myself. And I took 200 litres of water, took a couple bags of sweet potatoes, couple bags of oranges, and a bit of bait, and that was it. And I just lived off fresh fish for for 16 nights. But then I'd come back and I'd be like, ooh, got a heap of emails, get through all the emails. Sorry, yeah, I've been really busy. Sorry, I haven't got back to you.
Yeah.
And then I ended up with that business. I came back after doing that for 4 months, and usually I'd just be camping in a swag. Every night I'd get on the laptop for about an hour. Every morning I get on the laptop for about 30 minutes, quickly answer all the emails, throw it away, go back on the road, go exploring, go adventuring. And then I came back to Brizzy, and at this point I'd stopped doing drugs. I'd stopped doing coke. Got back to Brizzy and I'm like, I miss my family, I miss my friends. Got back and my mates were like, oh, you want a line? And I just went, give me a minute. And I literally just went up to my room and I was like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. I was like, and I went on and found out you had to apply to the government to leave at that stage because this was mid-COVID. So I applied to the government to fly. I had to sign a stat dec saying I wouldn't come back for at least 6 months. And I thought, how long is this going to take? 2 weeks. Got the letter back. Yep, you're right to go. Flew to Colombia. And when I was in Colombia, I had a guy call me a business broker, and that was when everything was booming. People were paying crazy amounts. And he's like, have you thought about selling your business? He's like, you've got it set up like this, right? And I'm like, yeah. And I was like, nah, man, like it's just comfy as at the moment. I do about an hour's day of work, make good money. And he's like, you could probably get this for it. And I was like, what? Are you serious? And he's like, yeah, man, they're paying double what they used to for businesses like yours. And I was like, wow. I was like, okay. He's like, look, I'm going to send you an email with 3 names and numbers of people who are interested. If you want to call them, call them. And so I called the first number. I was in Mexico at this stage. Called the first number. I was down at this little dodgy bar. There was these dolphins swimming past, I remember. And spoke to this guy for about half an hour, hung up the phone, and I'd sold the business. And I was like, shit, what am I going to do now?
Can you share how much you sold it for?
That one, the sale price was 1.2 for that one.
Fuck.
Yeah, that was the last 2 businesses. So I'd sold portions of businesses along the way and then some different businesses, but that was the last of those ones. So yeah, that was a mortgage broking and the SMSF accounting business. But then I was like, okay, now I don't have an income. And I ended up, so when I got off maths, I had more money. I hadn't worked in 2 years, and I had more money when I finished maths, not from maths, than when I stopped working 2 years ago. And that was from investments. So I actually had, I travelled for 18 months around the world, and I actually had more money just from the investments. So that was pretty awesome. And yeah, I've decided, and I've started doing this. I have 3 clients already where coach people. I love helping people, man. And I know a lot about a lot of random stuff. Like if I look at all the parts of my life, like when I was in the army, I learned a lot about the abilities humans have. Our brain thinks we can do about this much, but our bodies can actually do about this much.
Yeah, just through the roof, eh?
We are limited so badly by our weak little brains. It's not funny. I would have been 17. I was marching down this road with a shitload of weight on my back. It was the middle of the day. It was hot as hell. And all of us, this was at Singleton, School of Infantry, and all of us were dying. We're all like guys are making noises and trudging along with all this weight, and this corporal came up beside me and he was like, Macca. My last name's McCullough, I used to get called Macca. And he was like, Macca, I want you to do me a favour. And I'm like, yeah, what? And he's like, I want you to turn the sides of your lips to the sky. And I was like, what? Smile. And I laughed. And then suddenly, like, 50% of the pain left my body. And I was just like, oh. And he just winked at me and walked off. And I was like, the first thing I thought was, I'm so weak. My brain is so weak. I was like, I'm actually not that bad. And then I was like, okay. And then there was a guy beside me and he was struggling. So I'm like, here, let me help you with that. And like took some stuff off him. And it was just that boom, that instant of all I did was smile, and my brain went, oh, we're okay, and it just went.
Thinking about the psychology in that, hey.
It's insane, mate.
You know,
we can be in a moment where we're so overwhelmed by something and we're dying and then someone could just tell you a knock joke, and if it made you laugh, your world would change. If you and I do that now. If I'm struggling, I'll just be like, you're weak. And I'll smile. It'll make me laugh. I'll think back to that moment. It makes me laugh. And I immediately feel a shitload better just from that one little thing. And so that's one little thing I learned one day as a 17-year-old walking down a road in the middle of country New South Wales. And if you look at my whole life through, like I did a lot of stuff in the army from that point, like the amount of weight you end up carrying, like when I was in Timor, because when I was in the army, we were patrolling the border around Timor, and like I weighed all my stuff there, my kit, so my webbing, pack and rifle, and it was 67 kilos, and I had to carry that for weeks. Like it gets lighter because a lot of that's water and food, so it gets lighter as you go on, but like that's a shitload of weight, man, to be carrying around. But I built my mind up to realise, and it's pain. Carrying weight of that magnitude is just pain. Your whole body hurts. But I'd just keep doing it, just keep being like, smile. Whenever I'd be like, I'm dying, just smile, you know. And it would take that little bit away and give me that edge. It gives you an edge over people. It's like a secret.
It does. It's like what I said before, and nothing ever is good or bad, it just is. Yeah. It's just about your perspective. And, you know, a lot of people, they know you from Married at First Sight, and you and I are speaking about it the other day at coffee. And to get into that conversation, I think before we dive into that, I was pondering on this the other day after our coffee. And I think for a lot of people, especially when you're in the limelight of a reality show or in the public appearance.
Don't do it. Yep.
Whatever it is. I think we can be so quick to judge someone by their perceived perception behind the camera. And I know Married at First Sight, everyone knows that it's always a little bit scripted, I guess you could say.
It's not scripted, but it's edited.
Edited very, very well.
And if you have enough footage, you can effectively make, as a producer, you can effectively make your own script. So in that way it is scripted. But it's not scripted. They don't tell you what to say. You say whatever you want to say. But they chop and change it so much, like it's insane. Watching it back, we can tell. But if I'm sitting in the same spot for 7 hours and they have 7 hours of footage of me sitting there, they'll have me laughing, they'll have me angry, and they can put someone crying with me laughing.
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
I'm not a sadist. Like, I wouldn't laugh at someone who's in pain, but they can make it look like that.
For sure.
So what they do in Australia is actually illegal on the countries around the world. So in England and in America, it's illegal to edit like they do in Australia. That's why Australian maths is the best maths in the world. That's why England prefers Australian maths to English maths. Because in England, it's illegal to edit. They can't make it look like someone is saying or doing something that didn't happen. Whereas in Australia, you can. They can do whatever the fuck you want. You sign something that pretty much says, we can make you look however we want. We can do whatever we want with the footage. We own it forever. You sign that away. But that is why the Australian maths is so good. Because, dude, it's wild. Watching it back was tough. It was really tough.
Yeah, I know. And now that I know you personally now, it's like you are so far from the perceived perception that I had on you when you were on the show, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that goes for, I guess, whole of Australia. And yeah, it's like we're all so quick to judge by something we see. And, you know, everyone knows reality TV is absolute fucking crock of shit. But
they don't. They do, but they also don't. And like yesterday, I was on Ellie's phone responding to a troll. This woman who was so vicious to Ellie, saying such horrible things, like disgusting things, about something that didn't even happen. Like the things she was going on about didn't even happen. It looked like that, but it didn't happen.
Yeah.
But there are people who go, oh, mate, I could see that that's actually what happened. It's almost like an intelligence test, watching Married at First Sight, to see if you can pick out the things that are true and the things that aren't. And unfortunately, the angrier the person, the more likely they are to message you. People don't message you that much. I got a lot of love messages and a lot of, mate, we hope you're doing okay. I see you getting a bit of hate out there. But I think, unfortunately, hate's a stronger emotion, and people are more likely in an instant to pick up their phone and send a message of hate than they are to send one of love, which is sad.
Very much so it is. And keyboard warriors, it's funny, some of the shit, like, some of the messages you're telling me that you receive, it's like, holy fuck. That's just so hurtful and so dreadful.
Yeah, and look, man, there was a little bit of a dark time there for me. I'm not gonna lie, it was tough.
Yeah, I can that's the biggest thing too. It's like even after in my own time when I was thinking about all these things, it's like the emotional downfall that you would have had, and you and Ellie for that matter, of being perceived totally opposite to what you guys actually are in reality, being perceived like that on reality TV for the whole of Australia, or the whole of the world to see.
Yeah.
And then
literally
that is what people think of you.
Yeah.
And which literally is not the case at all. And I think, and I was just, like, I couldn't help but just feel so bad. Like, I actually felt sorry and I felt bad for you guys because, I sort of put myself in that position if I was to go on that fucking show. And if I was to be perceived like that, I think my whole internal, I just wouldn't, oh man, it'd be fucking, it would be horrific.
Yeah, trolls, man, are the definition of kicking someone when they're down.
Yeah.
So we had, I had multiple episodes throughout. Lauren was really smart. She was like, I take my hat off to her. Absolute genius when it came to the show. She knew what to do. She had a game plan, and no one was going to stand in her way of success pretty much, and she did really well. But I didn't know she was behind my back saying Jono's boring, Jono's a robot. And then they decided to run with Lauren because I came back with Ellie at reunion. They were like, oh, we can make it now look like he actually was cheating, and so let's run that, and let's from the beginning just make it look like Lauren was good and Jono was a useless, boring bastard. So I had to sit there and watch myself. People would ask me questions, I would just be like, and I'd just sit there and watch myself on TV, knowing that my family, my friends, and half of Australia was watching it. Me just be like, and not even talk. They would, it was painful, man. And there was only one day when I woke up and I had to go out that day and do my stuff. And I just said to Ellie, I was sitting in bed, and I was like, I don't think I can go in public today.
That was post-show, yeah.
After one episode in particular, I was like, I don't think I can face the world today. And she's like, you got to do it. And I'm like, yep, I do. And I got up and I went out and I did my thing. And, but it was tough. Because not only am I watching something that didn't happen,
yeah,
and then you have this embarrassment,
and then like the trickle effect, like,
and then you have the trolls. So the trolls are, all of those things have just happened. You've just watched your life, just fall to pieces effectively in front of you for a brief period. Like I said, was I ever dying? No. And that's what I'd say. People are like, you all right? I'm like, mate, no one died, I'm fine. But then you get the trolls, and then you get this vicious hate from people. People saying you're not even a man, men picking fights with me. And at the start, I wouldn't respond. And then I started to respond, but in a non-aggressive way. There were only probably a handful of instances where I was so over it that I just went, mate, I live in Palm Beach. When do you want to meet up? let's meet up. Say it to my face. Like, no one was ever aggressive to my face.
Yeah.
No one ever...
It's always behind a fucking screen, wasn't it?
Exactly. And there was only a few times that I said that. But most of the time I would actually sit there and I'd be reading this horrible thing. People told me I should kill myself. People told me how. I got a list of horrible, disgusting things. I should pretty much torture myself all the way through to death. And it was chilling. It would give me goosebumps reading it. And I would sit there and I would go... Look, I understand why you'd feel that way. It looked pretty bad. It was hard for me to watch too. It's not exactly how it happened, but I get why you feel that way. And I did send. And I don't think anyone ever, if I would not be aggressive, if I'd just be like, I get it, I don't think anyone ever came back aggressive again. Everyone would be like, oh, look, I don't know why I said that. You know, I don't even really know you. I see you getting a lot of hate, actually.
They only know a perceived perception of you.
Yeah,
you know?
I see you getting a lot of hate, actually. Are you doing all right? It's interesting. Hate. If you want to stop hate, you can't breed hate. If I would even put a little bit of, hey, fuck you, in the message back to them, if I'd be like...
it's like fighting fire with fire, right?
It would literally be like pouring fuel on the fire. It doesn't make it better.
No.
And I really learned this. If I was just completely... I get it. You know, it's not how it happened, but I get why you'd feel that way. And I'm, you know, it's been really rough for me in LA watching it back. It's been tough. If I just did that, people would just be, oh, man, I don't know why I called you a cunt. Or, oh, man, I don't know why I did that. You know, I was in the moment. But if I did go, you don't know what happened, or you weren't there, or, you know, get alive, you're a troll, you're a whatever. If I did anything other than that, it would just be constant hate that would just keep going and keep going. Yeah. And like sometimes I'd be pissed and I would fight with them. But to no avail. I'd always end up just blocking them and deleting it. It's not like you'd ever get anywhere. And I think there's an important lesson in that, right? If you want to truly connect with someone, you have to be vulnerable. You have to take your ego, your anger out of it. If you want to get through to someone, aggression is not the way. Aggression is fuel to the fire, and it would be... but like I said, I do believe in aggression. I do believe men should use aggression, should funnel their anger, their stresses, their anxieties, their frustrations into aggression, but just funnel it into something good.
Into something healthy, yeah, for sure. And for those who are listening and who don't know the full context, you were caught up in that cheating scandal, like what we were just talking about before. How was, and you know, like I said now before, like now that I know you personally, it wasn't that, and it's just, it was the perceived perception, right? What the producer did. And amidst all of that, whilst you're on the show, how was that for your own mental health? How did that surround, like, yeah, let's touch on that, man. Like, tell me about that. That's fucking heavy shit.
Yeah, look, I wasn't sleeping when I was down there very well. I like, Lauren wasn't the easiest person to live with. There's someone out there for everyone. I'm not that person for Lauren. And I kind of knew she was attacking me behind my back. I'd had people tell me some stuff, oh, Lauren's been saying this about you, and it's just like, oh, fuck. And, you know, you'd be thinking, oh, and my brain would always be thinking, and that's why I couldn't sleep. I'd be like, oh, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? You know? And so I started taking some sleeping tablets, and I went from like a small dose to an insanely high dose, and I still couldn't sleep. And they offer you like counselling and stuff like that, but I could barely... It was pretty intense, man. It was only 3 months that I was down there, but it was pretty intense, and I wasn't doing well. I was losing weight. I wasn't sleeping. I could barely think. And yeah, I just wanted to literally make it through the end. But Lauren was sort of saying one thing to me, and then when we're on camera, it would be another thing. So it would be tough. Like, we both were like, oh, let's stay on a bit longer. Because we were never actually in a relationship. Like, yeah, that wasn't the case. And at the start, I was sort of wanting to leave, and then I wasn't wanting to leave because I was like, oh, maybe we can turn it around because I look like a weak, pathetic loser right now. But I should have just, like, yeah, just been honest. Just when she said she wasn't there for a relationship, I should have just been like, okay, well, let's just pack it up and leave then. But, you know, you go through probably 6 months of auditioning process to get on it from when when you first either apply or are reached out to, and there's this big process, and then you think about like the homestays and like going to Byron or something with all these people, how cool that'd be, and you want to go through the experience. So when you find out on the second day that the person doesn't want a relationship, and you know, I was hoping to find someone. Apparently I was naive in that, but I actually was hoping to find someone, and thought I had this really good feeling in my stomach that I was going to find someone. But I didn't want to go home, and so we did keep writing stay, and at one point I think things were going really good for Lauren, and then she was like, oh, let's just leave, and I was like, well, they're going good for you, but at my expense.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, for sure, hey.
And as a man, you just don't want to feel weak, you know. You just don't want to feel like a weak, pathetic bastard.
Emasculating as fuck, man, especially when you're on show, hey.
Dude, it's so tough. And I got so many messages from, you know, big, tough men saying, oh, if you ever come to Melbourne, I'm going to make you feel small. And I was like, I'll be in Melbourne next week, motherfucker. Let's meet up. And they'd be like, boo, 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 you know, like fucking MIA. And I had heaps of people threaten me and say they were going to bash me and stuff like that. And I was like, mate, I'll tell you where I live.
Yeah,
come
for
around,
sure.
let's do it. Like, there's a perfect place to take my aggression out.
100%, absolutely.
Like, controlled aggression, funnel it somewhere where it's got some use. But I actually, like, I do grappling and that. I haven't done it in ages, but I'm so keen to get back. All my stuff's in storage for it, so as I get that out in 2 weeks, can't wait to get back in there. There's a great way to channel some aggression. And like I said, I feel like it's a part of us as men that we have that. We have testosterone, and it, you know, utilize that. Utilize it for motivation. Utilize it to push more weights. You know, utilize it to push you in life, and you can do that. But anyway, so Man Mass was tough. It was a bit of a dark time. Not the worst time of my life, that's for damn sure. But it wasn't fun, and then coming out the end wasn't fun. And when I went back with Ellie because Ellie and I met up after the show, and we ended up going back to Reunion together, and Reunion actually went awesome for us. We had the best time. When we got down there, we got swarmed by the whole cast. Everyone, like, we had so much love. And, like, there's about 15 minutes during the night when we had a fight with Lauren, and I didn't realise she went and, like, she was fake crying at the table, and then she went out the back and got interviewed and actually real cried. I didn't know that. And so we had a bit of a fight with her, and then some of the table turned on her and yelled at her and said, you know, you treated Jono like shit, leave him alone, he's happy now, blah, blah, blah. And that's why she went out and cried. But we didn't know they were going to paint it badly. So we actually, I knew that there was going to be rough times during the show, but I thought the end was going to be really good because, hey, it's meant to be a love show, and I found love. And, you know, that's a good thing.
Fuck yeah.
But no, they made it look horrible. And I before I watched it, I could not have thought that they would even be able to find a way to make it look bad. Because we were saying, yeah, look, we met up 2 weeks after Final Vows. A group of us were meant to meet up, but I think it was Cass, Tim, me and Ellie were meant to meet up, but then Cass and Tim couldn't make it, so Ellie and I just went, and we ended up, we met for like a coffee, and we ended up having a coffee. Oh, let's go somewhere for a drink. And then we ended up doing this big bar hop around Broadbeach, and then we had dinner, and then, oh, mate, we just had the best night. And I was like, this chick's amazing. And so when we went back together, we were just thinking it's actually all innocent. Like, nothing happened.
Yeah.
Like, I was messaging Lucinda, Andy, Cass and Ellie, you know, throughout the show when they'd left, just keeping them up to date on how the show was going. I didn't think anything of it. I was also messaging the two gay boys. I was also messaging Tristan when he left, and, you know, everyone. I just kept in touch with everyone because Lauren did not talk to me at all off camera. I'd try to talk to her and she'd literally look at me and then just like walk off. Like, so I had a little spare time. I had a little spare time to do stuff. So I just kept in touch with everyone and let them know how the show was progressing. So because it was innocent and because then we went back and everyone was so happy for us, we were like, this is going to be amazing. Like, how cool that we actually found each other on the show. And then when we watched it, like...
That would have been a horrific scene.
Ellie,
being a fly on
Ellie
a wall.
so we went down to Sydney to watch the reunion. We watched it with half of the cast down there. We hired like this room to watch it, and we were just devastated. Ellie had to leave the room a few times. She was bawling her eyes out, and we were just like, "Fuck, man!" Like. You know, that's the last people see of you on the show. And so I think I had a few people from this season I've talked to. And
the new season, what's
the one
being
that's being
aired?
filmed now. So I think it's finishing probably about now. And I just sort of said to, there was one lady in particular who reached out and I was just like, and she's like, I'm thinking of doing this when I go back to reunion. And I'm like, don't. I'm like, just be happy. It's your last chance. It's the last the whole of the world will see of you. Do not get angry. Like, because I went off at Lauren because I was just sick of it.
Yeah,
sick of
for
it
sure. Man, that's granted, right?
Yeah, but if you knew the backstory to it is, but if you take away all the context...
Yeah, that just looks like you're being a bit of a cunt.
It just looks like I'm being an arsehole. Context is so important, hey? And that's where... we sort of talked about before, you know, you can look at someone and judge them, but you don't know what's going on in their life, right? Yeah. And that's a situation with maths. You can judge someone by things they've said, but there might be this huge context on the back end which provides all the reasoning why they said that or why they did that. And if that's taken away, which is so easy to do on a show like that, then yeah. So we were left... We got up that next morning and flew out of Sydney, and we pretty much were just like zombies, and that's when the hate started coming in. So sitting there, before I even left where we watched it, my phone was blowing up. People were getting through on Facebook Messenger and calling. So I had all these... It wasn't coming through to my phone, but I opened up Messenger and there's all these missed calls, like from people I didn't know, and... answer the fucking phone, you faggot, and all this sort of stuff, you fucking cunt, like just going absolutely off at me. And I must have had like 100 different people abuse me that night. And then, such a weird thing, man. I would know where the show was airing in the world and when, based on, I'd be like, oh, I'm getting abuse from Portugal.
Yeah.
It must be, you know, it must be up to reunion in Portugal right now. Or, you know, England was the next one to get it. And Poms are passionate people. They're very passionate. And so got a lot of hate from the Poms. But then, like, we went to England recently and we'd get stopped every 10 metres and asked for photos with people. And everyone's so nice to your face, man.
Really?
It's just the trolls online. But yeah, it was a bit tough, man. And I think, again, I did the thing I do. I went, okay, I'm feeling anxious about this. I'm feeling pretty shit about this. Let's delve into it. So embarrassment, that's probably the biggest thing I'm feeling right now. You know, I'm embarrassed about how I was portrayed, and is it true? No. Do all my friends and family, the people who matter in my life, know that? Yes.
Yeah, that's what you need.
So what am I going to have? I'm going to have situations where it's a bit awkward. People are going to look at me in public, and people did, you know, but no one, like I said, no one ever came up to my face, but I'd see people sort of looking at me and like do a little head shake at me and be like, hi, and just wave to them. And so I delved into it, and I worked out that the worst that it was going to happen was maybe some dumbass who'd come up and pick a fight with me, and I'd be like, fuck yeah, that'd be awesome. I would love to take all my rage out on some absolute loser troll. That's great. I'm like, so I went down that path, and I worked out that the worst thing that could happen is someone throws a punch at me and I get to take all my rage out on them. Apart from that, I got a little bit of embarrassment. All my friends and family. I had, at the same time where I had all this hate on Messenger, it was just on Messenger.
That's
for
so
some
strange.
reason.
That's fucking weird.
Yeah, I had even more text messages coming through from friends and family going, mate, we know who you are. We love you, you know. And, you know, our brains naturally want to concentrate on that one, the bad one.
Yeah.
But I think part of our brains actually must almost like it, like the emotion that we get from the feeling. Because why else would we want to concentrate more on that? Like a rational brain would go, well, I have 100 messages from people saying they hate me, who I don't know, I've never met, and I don't give a shit about. And then I have 100 messages from people I love and respect who've said what an amazing person they think I am. But our brain will naturally go to concentrate on that. So I just made sure it didn't. I just went, and don't get me wrong, man, there were tough times, you know. Ellie and I were really lucky. We took about 4 or 5 months off this year. We travelled around Australia. And, you know, I'd be in some random place in Kalgoorlie and I'd get a message from someone abusing the shit out of me from some country. I was like, that had just watched it, telling me I should never come to their country to watch out, because if I do. And you just go, oh, for fuck's sake. But then I'll be like, it's okay. It's okay. I'd look at Ellie and be like, it's got another hate message. But I'd laugh.
How has that been for your relationship?
It was tough. It was actually, a lot of people are like, oh, you guys are so perfect, everything's so great. Yeah, that's fucking Instagram, right?
Yeah. Highlight reel, hey?
Yeah, but it was tough, man. It really hurt Ellie. I was probably like a day after a really bad episode, I'd be like, oh, and then I'd be all right. But it really hurt Ellie. She's like the sweetest little thing. She'd never had hate. I've had hate before from people. I've had people I don't like. I've had, you know, back when I was in the army and younger, you know, fighting with people and stuff like that, like physical fighting. She's never had any of that. She's this sweet little happy person who every morning when I wake up I look over and she's got a big smile on her face and she's so happy to see me, and you know, it's amazing. But that's her personality. So for her to get people telling her you're just as ugly outside as you are inside, and people go...
They go deep, hey?
People know the triggers, so they know what she does for work. So she works in, you know, she's a cosmetic nurse, so she helps people to look more youthful. And so what do? They go, I thought you were 45, you old C-bomb this, and, you know, you look haggard. Why would anyone go to you? You look way older than what you are, you know. They go, how can I really hurt this person? Like Ellie, most of her clients that she get, they're like, oh, I saw you on Maths and you just looked flawless. Your skin looks amazing. Whatever you're doing for yourself, I want you to do it for me.
Yeah.
You know, and that's people who are rational and sane. And then you have the other people who are not and who just want to hurt her. And so they'll say horrible things like that to her. And they got to her. And I would say to her, don't read them. If you get a message, give it to me. I'll look through it. I'll respond if it's required. Otherwise, I'll just delete it. And every now and again, I'd look over and she'd be on her phone. I'd be like, what are you looking at? And she's like, huh? And I'd be like, are you looking at your message request? And she's like, know. And I'm like, give it here. And I go through and delete them. I'm like, why do you do it? Why do you, it's that curiosity part of our brain where you're sort of like, it's going to be bad, but then you're just like, I just want to have a look anyway. And then it would send her into a spiral, and we'd have this, I would be like, I told you not to look at it, and I'd get frustrated, and she'd be upset, and then I'd be like, well, I can't be angry at her, she's already upset, and, but honestly, man, it wasn't all roses, that's for sure, and it's still not today. Like, we went from not knowing anything about each other except for a few random messages, and to when I got off maths, I think it was 2 weeks after I got off maths, we went and had our coffee, which ended up being an awesome night, and we pretty much started seeing each other after that. Neither of us had anywhere to live. We'd both given up leases to go on the show, and so I was like, hey, I'm going to get a place in Palm Beach. You can come stay with me if you want, because she was just staying with her mum at the time, and she's like, oh, I'll come stay like one night a week, and 7 straight up. So we went from barely knowing each other to going through this crazy experience to then living together, to having perhaps like camera people out the front of our house, like trying to get photos of
Really?
us. Yeah. There was a lady who lived below us, Sharon, she's a legend, and she'd call us and go, that creepy little man is in the bushes by the bins again with his big camera. And you'd be like, oh, thanks, Sharon. We'll take the back door. Like, it was very short-lived, but it's when you're embarrassed and just not even wanting to go outside, you don't want to walk out and have a camera in your face.
No, it's the last thing you want, man.
Yeah. But it was tough, but, mate, no one died. And I think it's just that perception. We could have chose to just concentrate on the negative and let it overwhelm us, or we can just, look the other way, look at all the positives in our life. Like, gratitude's a big thing nowadays, and people are like, oh, gratitude. And it is a big thing, but I don't know how many people actually really do the process well, do the gratitude process well. You want to really think about something that changes your state, that instead of having this horrible negative emotion flow through you want to sit there and be so grateful about something that you feel it overwhelm you. That's gratitude. That's not, I'm grateful because I like my dog. Dad's pretty cool, and it was mad surf this morning. Okay, I've done my gratitude for
It's
today.
like that superficial gratitude type shit where you put Instagram story, I'm grateful for the sun today. It's like, no, what are you actually grateful for? I think this morning I woke up feeling a bit shit. I've had a pretty shit week anyway. But this morning I noticed that I was a bit anxious, and I'm like, all right, don't fucking sob here. So what I do, I went for a walk. I grounded. I didn't wear fucking shoes. I just walked along the grass at the beach, and I actually said, I'm grateful to be living the life I am now. I'm grateful that I have so many people around me, just to lift my spirits, because I was pretty in the dumps, not gonna lie.
Yeah.
But I'm fucking human. You
need to get into it, and
you do,
like,
man.
Everyone knows now that you should write down the 3 things you're grateful for, or 5 things, or 2 things, or 1 thing, or 10 things, depending on who you listen to. But you could write down 200 things. It's not going to change your state
if you don't actually believe it,
if you don't actually feel it, if you don't actually do whatever you need to do. Think about someone who doesn't have what you have. Think about what they're going through. Think about if you weren't born in this beautiful bloody country we live in, which is it is the best country in the world, man. Like, I've been to 62 countries now. This is the best place.
Yeah.
When I flew over to Colombia, I wasn't planning on coming back. I literally was like, I'm done. I'm so over it here. I'm going. And I spent 18 months away, and I ended up in random places in Eastern Europe after doing like South Central America. And I just was looking for a place that was, better than Australia, and didn't find it, And if you can just really get deep into something, I reckon just think of one thing each day you're grateful for, but get deep into it and really think about it. Really, it could be a friend, just one friend. I'm glad I have this friend. And you think about all the times you laughed together and all the amazing times you've shared together, and, you know, how awesome it is having that person in your life, and how much they mean to you, and how they make you feel, and, you know, really fucking get into it, and then close your eyes and sit there and just be like, man, like, what if I didn't have that person in my life? You know, what if they weren't here anymore? They might not be here tomorrow. You know, life is short, man. Life is achingly short, and that's why it's beautiful. That's why it's so beautiful. If we live forever, if we were never going to die, you know, it'd be boring. But I think
mundane as fuck.
It'd be mundane as fuck. But I think people don't think about that. They don't think about the fact that you're not going to be here forever, you know, and that person over there that you see every day and that you take for granted every day is not going to be here forever either. But life goes so quick, man. Like, I joined the army 25 years ago now, and it seems like just the other day. Like, it seems like just the other day, and in that, it's going to be another 25 years, and some of my friends, some of my family won't be here anymore. So, you know, I think we have nothing to complain about, really. Like, if you are going through something tough in your life, and if you are in a situation where you're in an abusive relationship or something like that, that sucks. But tomorrow is a new day, and if you don't do something about it, that's on you. If you're an adult, if you're not a child, if you're an adult, you have no excuses. You can move, you can change, you can get away from something, a toxic job, a toxic boyfriend, a horrible boss, whatever it might be. If you go through it day after day, if you are complaining about the same thing more than 2 days in a row, it's your fault, and you need to do something about it. Take responsibility for it. Take responsibility for your life.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, absolutely. I think that sort of rings true, because in my current job, I'm like, oh. But, you know.
But you are doing things. You're doing things right. We're sitting here. You've got this podcast. You're doing retreats. I watched your thing, that girl who came up and talked to you, that TAFE thing the other day. That's awesome, man. You are doing stuff. You have to be patient, though, right?
Yeah, I think for me, man, I just want to be there already.
The journey.
I know, and you know.
No, but if from what you're saying, you don't know. You don't know.
I guess to a degree.
Yeah,
I think
because you're not. If you say those words, I just want to be there, then you're not enjoying the journey.
No, I think like I can get caught up in that mindset a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And like when I bring myself back down to fucking ground earth, I'm like, this is literally all a part of the journey. I will be there one day. I don't have to be there now.
Yeah.
But I think. Because
when you do get there, you'll be there, and then it'll just be.
And they'll be like, "Oh, I'm so grateful for being where I used to be."
It'll be what is, and when you're in a situation, that's what it is. That's where you are, and then you're just there, and enjoy the journey, because you might never get to where you want to be. So if you don't enjoy the journey now, then what? You just don't enjoy your whole life. It's a stupid way to do shit, isn't it?
The man who loves walking will walk further than the man who just wants the destination.
Yeah.
And that rings true, I think, you know. And I tell myself that.
I get it. It's hard, and I'm going through the same thing at the moment, because I've helped Ellie set up a business, and you know she did, wants so many things for it, and but when we get this and when this happens, and it's like. No, you gotta enjoy it now. It's all a process, and
you do.
Yeah, and I've really enjoyed doing that with Ellie, because it's one of those things. Because I have been through business so many times. Like I set up my first business when I was 21, when I left the army, and talking to Ellie about it, she's like, "Oh, but what do we do? And how does this work?" And I'm like, "Easy, you just go online and do that, and then you just go there and do it." You know, for me, it's so easy, but for her, it was this big, it's all no. And that's where I've said before, I'd love to help coach people. I love to help coach people who have a business make it better. For people who want to start a business, you know, for people who want to have a business that ends up paying them, you know what I mean? Instead of, it's an asset to them, not a liability where they're stuck in it and it's like a ball and chain. Because you can do it, but we could do an entire other podcast just on that, because that's a big conversation, that one. Like, most people, man, unfortunately, I had a client once who was making 50 grand a year, and then he got a job in FIFO, and he went from 50 to 250, and he still had no money. And it's like, your income has gone up by 5 times, and you still have no money. We will just start spending money on stupid shit. So people don't want to hear it, but...
You buy a Land Cruiser and a fucking jet ski, hey?
He had 2 jet skis.
Yeah.
Why? Because my mate has to come with me.
Oh, God.
Yeah, so we bought 2 jet skis. It was a Maloo ute, not a Land Cruiser. But my point is...
Yeah, same sort of thing,
So, yeah, if you want to not have, you know, money control you, and if you want to be in control of money, you need to be a bit smart about it. And I love training people with that. I love going in... If you look at your income... If you can only just barely survive on what you get paid every week, you are living outside your means. Make some changes. But I sit down with people and go through, I'm like, okay, what direct debits do you have off your credit card? I don't know. I'm like, you should. I'm like, I go through them and it's like, what's that? And I'm like, oh, that's a gym membership I don't use. You have 3 gym memberships? Oh, yeah, I just haven't cancelled those 2. I'm like, they're like, oh, I'll get to it. And I'm like, give them their phone. I'm like, oh, wait, do it now. Why the fuck are you paying for that? Like, people just, but they have enough money at the end of the week, so they just don't care about it, you know? You have to start with what you have, go through, do a clear out of what you have, and then start going, okay, and putting a little bit of money away. And it's hard, and it seems like it's not going to go anywhere, but it's a snowballing effect. So you just need to start investing. You need to start putting money away. You need to start, save up for a house. Do whatever you can to get a house, man. Like, if I haven't had a cent off my dad since I was 17. I left home, and like, my dad remarried 2 years before I left school, and so there were 8 of us in the house. So it was 9. So we had my 3 brothers and my dad, and then my stepmom and her 4 kids. So there were 9 of us living in the one house. And so Dad wasn't a wealthy dude, but we had just enough to get by, and they would do everything we needed to, get through school. But then it's like, okay, you're on your own now. And I think you need to get in control of your finances. I don't know why they don't teach it at school. Like, I learned so many things at school. I've never used trigonometry or like, there's so many things at school I learned that are just like, why? Why didn't they just take an hour out of 1 year and just sit kids down and give them a quick pep talk on finances at the very least? I think it should be a subject you do. Compulsory subjects, just life skills, should be a compulsory subject, year 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, for everyone. And they teach about finances, about mental health, about struggles, about relationships, about how to treat people, if you want to be treated a certain way, how to grow assets, like, just showing someone the power of compounding or something like that. Why don't they... School blows my mind, man. They teach us so much useless shit. It should be not one subject. It should almost be like half of school should be teaching people how you're going to live, how to be a good human, how to be the best version of yourself. About diet. Like, about an actual diet that might help you get a prebiotic in your gut once every week, like, I don't know. It blows my mind. if I want to have kids, but it scares me, like sending them to school. I don't know.
It does, and I agree. I think the schooling system does have to change, but I'm sort of running out of time here. But
Yeah.
I usually like to, at the end of my episodes, I always ask
Oh shit, that's 2 hours.
time flies when you're having fun, right?
Time flies, baby.
It does. But yeah, at the very end of each episode, I do ask 3 questions. So,
Oh, jeez. Now I'm
Jesus.
nervous. Okay, go.
What's the worst piece of advice you've ever received?
There's a lot of those, hey. The worst piece of advice. Nate, I think the knowledge we all grew up with around what is good for our bodies when it comes to diet, I think diet is so important, and I think the food pyramid is the worst piece of advice that any of us have ever received, where it's got all the breads and pastas are the main thing you should be eating at the bottom, and cereals, and then fats are the bad thing. Like, I think animal fat is amazing for you, and meat, I think, is up the top. The 2 things that you could live off and be the best version of yourself are the smallest part of the pyramid. I think I could, and again, talk for another 2 hours about different bits of that, but I'd say let's just leave it with that one.
Okay. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Again, I've got a lot of these. I've been lucky to have a lot of good mentors, people who I didn't know were mentors at the time, but looking back, I realise they were. But I think I'd have to go with what I've said a few times already, that your life is your responsibility. If you're in a shitty place, I feel sorry for you. I'll empathise with you, and I'll talk to you about it, and I'll be a shoulder to cry on. If you come back a week later and you're still there, I'm going to start thinking you're a fool, because now it's on you. You have choices. You're an adult. Everyone has choices. We live in a free country. We're very lucky. There are no slaves here. You can do whatever you fucking want. Your life's your responsibility. Stop complaining about it. Do something about it. That would be, I think, the most powerful thing I've ever heard.
Agreed. Absolutely. If there is one thing you could say to someone who's going through a time of hardship or struggle, what would it be?
I would say find me on Instagram, message me. I would love to help you with it. I would love to talk to you about it. If you don't feel like talking to me about it, find someone to talk to about it. I think just verbalizing our problems, we can lead to our own conclusion a lot of the time. Like I said, you can be so worried about something, and then when you verbalize it the whole way through, you go, I actually don't care what other people think, and why am I even worried about that? You can actually come to a conclusion yourself. But honestly, man, give them my number, give me a call. I'd love to help you through with it. Talk to someone about it if you don't want to talk to me. And just know that no matter how bad life seems, like I always like the analogy of clouds. There are days where it's so cloudy, it's literally like the sun is never going to come back out again. And that's how life can feel. It can literally feel like you're never going to see the sun again. It can feel like you're in such a bad time. It can feel like you're never going to get out of that time again. But then the clouds can open up in an instant, and that can happen. Life can change for you in an instant. Like the end to your problems might be just around the corner.
Just got to hang in there.
Just a step around the corner. Yeah. And again, reach out to someone. People do care. People, it might not seem like anyone wants to hear your problems, but people do care. Like if you actually say to someone, if you are genuine with someone and say to someone, I'm not doing good, people will go from, looking at their phone, playing a computer game, to, what's wrong, man? Talk to someone. Talk to me. Message me. Call me. I'd fucking love to talk to you about it.
That's beautiful, man. Thank you.
Oh, no worries, man.
But yeah, no, man, I just wanted to express my gratitude towards you for stepping into this space, and having a chat. And I can, I've no doubts that you and I will not stop being in contact. So it's also been really cool to have a bit of a mate come on as well.
Man.
So
we're both here on the Goldie. It's awesome. It's great to meet like-minded people, right?
Yeah, it's lovely.
I don't drink or do drugs anymore, so I've got so much spare time.
Me too. you and I both, bro. Anytime, anywhere, I'll be there.
Yeah.
But thank you for popping on again, brother. I'll have all your social medias in the show notes so people can know how to find you and if they want to reach out to you. But to everyone else out there today, thank you for tuning in on this episode. It's been a very quick 2 hours. Something what always happens in the studio when you just get talking, you can just talk forever. But no, if you guys are going through the time of hardship or struggle, please reach out to either one of us. We are here for you in more ways than others, and we'll always be able to be your shoulder to cry on. And if you're ever in a time of need, know that you are worthy and you're deserving of everything in this life. And good things are coming to you. So thank you again for tuning in. I appreciate your time, and big love. I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.